Let's lock in. Christmas comes early for Johnny Fisher as he receives a gift decision over Dave Allen. Man, I watched that fight. I scored it 96-93 for Dave Allen. I thought he was in control. He was battering Johnny Fisher. At one point, Johnny Fisher, the best punch Johnny Fisher landed was against himself. He trying to knock himself out. He wanted to take himself out of the fight. No, but honestly, Johnny Fisher did start the fight off well, but I felt like his work rate was too high, and I felt like there was no way he could maintain that pace. And again, I think Johnny Fisher fell into the trap of attempting to oppress Turki Al-Sheikh, attempting to step on the gas and do a little too much on the big stage. And I think he really wanted to make a good impression. But what he did was he gassed himself out because he landed, his best punches against Dave Allen over and over and over again. And I always say this, you can't beat the punching bag. If the punching bag doesn't fall and you give it, at some point, you are going to fall out before the punching bag. And that's what happened with Johnny Fisher. By the time he unleashed all his best work, Dave Allen was still standing up. And from that point on, he just got battered and just got beaten around the ring. That's what happened. But unfortunately, this is the sport of boxing where people get robbed. We're going to take a look at Gareth Davies and Spencer watching the results of this fight get read. Just watch. This video appears courtesy of TalkSport.
Johnny the Rubber Bull Fisher! Hoots of derision from
Not
the crowd.
surprisingly, Mr. John Rawling, that is a disgraceful decision. There's no way that the first 4 rounds were Johnny Fisher's. The 5th round was clearly a 10-8. And then after that, Dave Allen did the better work in almost every round. I do not see those scores being fair, I'm afraid.
Listen, them scores are diabolical. That was not a close contest. There was one winner in that contest. Yes, Johnny Fisher started well. Yes, he won the first 4 rounds. He lost the 5th round 10-8, and he never won another round going in then. Maybe he won one, maybe he nicked 1 round, but that does not win him the fight. I love Johnny Fisher as a person. I love what he's done. I love what he's built there. But there was one winner in that contest, and that was Dave Allen.
But that wasn't down to Johnny Fisher. It was down to the judges.
I never said it was.
Wrong.
I never said it
Exactly.
was.
No, I'm agreeing with you. But the thing is this. Jamie Moore, who knows a fight, the way he was talking to Dave Allen when we heard him in the corner then, they knew they were winning the fight.
Johnny!
Yeah, now, I speak my piece on Eddie Hearn and a lot of people who are overly invested in Eddie Hearn and promote. I don't know why promoters have fanboys these days, but they do. And some people get upset. Let's listen to what Eddie Hearn had to say about his fighter, Johnny Fisher, receiving this Christmas gift. And then I'll get back to you and I'll give you my take on it. Now let's listen to Eddie Hearn. This video appears courtesy of IFL TV. Subscribe to IFL TV. Get IFL TV to 1 million subs. Come on, y'all. They should be at 1 million, man.
You're happy.
Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. Now you've had time to digest that. Did you feel the right man won?
I think that the best I could hope for when I got in the ring was a draw. This is how I see it. Johnny Fisher, 100% won the first 4 rounds and the 12th. He won 5 rounds, definitely. Now, if you give Dave Allen every other round and the knockdown, he wins the fight by 1 point. Now, if you give Johnny Fisher the 6th, 7th, 8th or 9th, Johnny Fisher wins the fight. But I'm not sure I did. I'll have to watch it back. My true reaction was we could lose this fight by a point or it's a draw. I think Johnny Fisher was very lucky to win the fight. But what I will tell you is he showed so much arsehole and so much bottle. We know he's got that in him. Tonight, we suffered from inexperience, a lack of rounds, and I thought Dave Allen was fantastic. I want to make the rematch. It's the fight to make in London. Big crowd. Dave Allen gets another opportunity. Johnny Fisher's in hospital now. He's been scanned. He's fine. He had to have his ear drained. But he's okay. That's the most important thing. Respect to both. It was a very, very close fight. I thought Johnny Fisher was lucky to get the win, but I could hardly split him.
All right. Now, I just want to point out something. In the video that I made about Jaleel Hackett, I point out how Eddie Hearn is bad with the analogy I use is progressive overload, right? If you lift weights, you'll understand this. If someone benches 185 pounds 8 times, right, they can move up. They're stronger than 185. 185 is not their max. The question is, how much can they move up? Should they attempt 225? Excuse me. It's possible they could attempt 225, right? But will they be successful at 225? Not necessarily. But if you move them up to 200, which is 15 pounds more, and you see how many times they can rep 200, you'll get a better idea of if they'd be able to handle 2 plates. But that's not what Eddie Hearn does. Eddie Hearn sees a guy rep 185 8 times, and then he puts 3 plates on and say, hey, go hit 315. I think you can hit 315, you know, and if they don't hit 315, certain fighters, he'll just dispose of them. He's bad at moving a fighter along the right way. You heard in this video, what did he say got them? Lack of inexperience and lack of rounds. Inexperience and lack of rounds. It showed up tonight. It's going to show up every night. How many times must you have prospects get taken advantage of by these crafty old veterans before you understand the value of experience? Usyk is 37 years old. He's older than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has been a pro longer. Because Usyk spent time developing his craft. Fury was pro, building his name, doing all that. Same with Anthony Joshua. All this, they made a lot of money, and then Usyk came in and snatched it all from them. Let a fighter perfect their craft before you do certain things. The problem with a promotional company or a promoter like Eddie Hearn is they want to fast track fighters to the bag. Back in the days, it was about, you're not ready, kid. You're not ready. Oh, I want the title shot. When you're ready, kid. Like, it was people actually cared about the fighters. Now it's like, I want the bag. I want the bag too. All right, well, let's see how we can navigate and fast track you to the. Johnny Fisher is a good talent. I'm not here to crap on Johnny Fisher. I like Johnny Fisher. Johnny Fisher is a good kid. But he got exposed last night by a crafty veteran, a dude who's been in there with some real talented fighters. A guy who's been around the block. A guy who the WBA Intercontinental Championship would have meant a hell of a lot to. Would have solidified his career. For some people, they'll crap on that belt. But to him, it would have been a new level that he reached, that he unlocked, that he could be proud of in his boxing career. Like, people don't understand. Like, you take pride in certain things. You win a local boxing tournament, you get a trophy, you take pride in that. And people will laugh at you and be like, oh, man, but I did something. This dude would have had that. That would have meant a lot to Dave Allen. But he got robbed of that. And you know what? It's cool. Johnny Fisher can walk around and keep the belt, and he can act like he's undefeated, but the people know what they saw. To me, that's even worse. Because now people are going to be walking around, and he's going to be walking around with that belt, but people know he don't deserve it. And so now what does Eddie say? I want to do a rematch in London. And I think, yeah, you're going to sell some tickets. You're going to do all that at the expense of Dave Allen, though. And then again, are you going to do an immediate rematch? What the hell do you think Johnny Fisher is going to learn? I mean, he'll probably learn to compose his tank a little more. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson he can get. And if he does that, he'll probably win more rounds and he can probably win the fight. But still, again, it was a bad decision to throw him in there with Dave Allen at the time. And that's my issue with Eddie, man. The progressive overload just doesn't exist. Like, he doesn't understand how to move fighters. Then on the same card, you just saw Moses spark out. Dude, here go Frank again, picking the right guy to help his fighter grow, to give his fighter the confidence, to show his fighter what's up. Like, he's moving him along the right way. And that's my issue. You don't know by now, inexperience and lack of rounds will always show up. Usyk did what he did to AJ because of AJ's inexperience and lack of rounds. Like, you can't shortcut this stuff sometimes. And I think, like, that's the issue. And that's why you see a lot of Eddie Hearn's fighters falling. But last night he got saved. And you heard what he said. I thought the best we could hope for when I stepped in the ring was a draw. Nah. It was a robbery. Everyone knows it. You know, for me, I'll see. It could be a robbery of the year candidate. And yeah, it's just some local level fight or whatever, but that mattered to Dave Allen, the White Rhino. I mean, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I have no beef with Johnny Fisher. I like Johnny Fisher. I think he's a good, talented kid. I hope he makes a full recovery. And I hope when Eddie Hearn says, yo, I want to throw you back in there with Dave Allen, I'll be honest, like, he could win a rematch against Dave Allen. If he doesn't start off as fast as he did, if he doesn't set the pace as fast as he did, if he tames himself and does just enough to nick early rounds, he'll win. But what are you going to do next? Get the guy fights that's going to allow him to perfect his craft. Like they used to do back in the days, man. Like, they knew when they had a talented guy. You know, Israel Madrimov. Just throw him in there, 11 fights with Crawford. Now imagine Madrimov fighting Crawford with a good 18 fights under his belt, where he had more looks at a good, slick boxer like Crawford. No slick boxer is going to be Crawford level, but there would have been enough for him to learn some tricks. There would have been enough for him to pick up on certain things so he could recognize certain things. All tests have patterns, right? When you take a test, any test, the bar exam, any exam, right? Those exams are made by test makers. They are certain strategies that test makers implement to make the wrong answer attractive to someone who doesn't understand the reason why answers are correct or what makes a certain answer correct. And if you study it enough, you'll begin to pick up on the pattern and the strategies that the test makers use to throw you off from the correct answer. All the best test takers in the world know that, right? So even if you're not really a good student or whatever, there's a such thing as a good test taker. A good test taker is someone who can identify the strategy that the creator of the test is using to throw you off. And then once you recognize these strategies, you begin to see a pattern. Like when I was taking the bar exam, it got to the point where before I even saw answer choices, I knew what would be the right answer because I could identify the strategies in the pattern from reading. I'm like, oh, I see where this is going. Oh, I see where this is going. So if you put Israel Madrimov in there with enough slick boxers, he'll be able to see patterns. He'll be able to see codes. He'll be the first guy like Bud you throw him in there with, he sees he did a good fight, but he probably could have done better or maybe even won if you would have given him more time. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, just progressive overload. You saw Israel Madrimov rep 225 twice and you said, oh, he's ready for 315. Look at how easy he threw it up the second time. Nah. An OG told me if you can bench press 315, you need to be able to rep 250. You need to be able to rep 225 15 times. I said 15 times. And I don't even agree with that. Because I hit 315 before I could even rep 215 15 times. But like the OG was doing, what the OG was saying was, not on my watch. You're not about to guillotine yourself on my watch. I need to see you hit 225. There's another OG who probably would have said, I need to see you hit it 8 times before I let you go up to 315. But the point is, you do have some managers and some trainers who are too overprotective and who will hold a fighter back too long. But my God, at least have some standard, at least have some threshold that a fighter must meet before you move them up. Like Eddie's sense of progressive overload is crazy. Eddie, inexperience and lack of rounds will always come to bite you. It bit you in Madrimov versus Terrence Bud Crawford. It bit Johnny Fisher, right? I don't know enough about the guy Jaleel Hackett fight to know, but I'm willing to bet that guy had more experience than Jaleel Hackett. It will bite you. Like, that's all I can really say. I feel bad for Dave Allen. He deserved it, man. For what it's worth, I was very entertained watching the fight. It wasn't the best it wasn't the most technical fight. It wasn't the best skill. It was the most skillful fight. But hell, like, to see grit, determination, and a guy give it all he had for the WBA Intercontinental. Hell, man, I respect those type of fights. Too bad he didn't get that accomplishment. You know what? The WBA should send that man a replica at least so he can hang it up on his wall, because we all know what happened during that fight. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. If you don't have time to watch these videos, you can listen to them on any major streaming services. The podcast is available. Cadence Kerfuffle. Happy holidays to you and your family.